how are you today? We're doing good. I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about change today. I just want to talk about change. I want to talk about how we stay in situations and we stay unhealthy. We don't want to get on our healing journey and do the things we need to do because sometimes we take a few steps forward and we're uncomfortable. We're uncomfortable in our pain. We're uncomfortable in our situation. Maybe we're in an abusive relationship. We're uncomfortable there. We're around toxic family members or toxic work environment. We're uncomfortable, but we stay in the situation because it feels more uncomfortable to change. And so that's what I want to talk about. So why are we afraid of change? Because as uncomfortable as we are, we're more afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid to let certain people go, even though they're hurting us, because we're afraid of what's unknown on the other side. We going to have. How is our life going to change? Because we're so used to how our life is that even though it's dragging us down and we're unable to be who we're supposed to be, we're unable to heal because of our circumstances. We just feel like we need to stay where we are. We just keep hoping for the best. But once we notice nothing's changing and we take a few steps forward, we try to change, a lot of times we get pulled back because as we take a few steps forward and we start to change, it gets really uncomfortable. So we think, oh, maybe we shouldn't go in this direction instead of like just wading through the uncomfortable patch and trying to get to a place where we eventually, hopefully, maybe we don't feel comfortable in change for a long time, but it'll take us out of the uncomfortableness of being in a toxic situation, and that'll help us to move forward being uncomfortable for a while in a direction that we're not sure. And so a lot of people stay in these abusive relationships and they say, well, why do people stay in abusive relationships? Because it's a sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice. When you leave an abusive relationship, you leave your whole life. You basically sacrifice your life so that you can live. And so a lot of people don't leave because they know that, because you really do have to leave your family behind, the family of the abuser, sometimes your own family, because they just don't understand what you're trying to tell them about how you're being abused and that you need to leave. And so I'm not talking about, yeah, people are so uneducated about what abuse really is. They don't see your emotional abuse that you're living with every single day. They don't see uh the spiritual abuse, financial abuse, or live you because they don't live with you. So they don't understand. They just don't want to see your family break apart and they don't want to see you go. And so it's really hard to leave back people that you care about. So you care about these people and they're not even in the middle of this, but you know if you move forward away from this abusive person, you have to leave people behind. And so that's really hard. And you don't want to do that because it's painful. So you're living through the pain of being in a toxic situation. You're living in an apartment with somebody, you're sharing an apartment with them, you don't get along with your roommate, and like you're living this day to day. You're just like going to your room. You don't use the kitchen when they're in it. Things like this. And you're living like this. You're staying in your car for hours, like outside of your home because you don't want to go in the house and see this person. You can't be around them because you know they're just boiling over with envy or whatever it is their problem is, anger. And so you end up just waiting, till they go to bed before you go in the house. Like there's all these uncomfortable things you're doing to stay in this relationship. And so if you could just switch those to doing uncomfortable things like starting over, because that's what ends up happening. You end up putting yourself in a place where you're doing really uncomfortable things just to manage, just to get through and stay in this relationship. And so if you could swap that for doing uncomfortable things with starting a new relationship. And it's painful because you have to leave people behind because everything has to change. But the thing is, that's exactly what we're here for. We're here to change and to grow. Who said that you really need to stay in like this, long-term relationship and suffer all of these painful experiences just to say you stayed in a long term relationship and you made it through? You survived a long term relationship. So the idea about companionship and friendship is that you're changing, and sometimes you change so much that you change out of people's life, and that can be a little bit painful, but the fact that you're changing makes it less and less painful. So the thing is, you want to find somebody that you can change along with. So you might have met somebody a couple of years ago and you were changing. So you were changing, you were growing, you started a new life, and they witnessed you changing and they began to change. And so now you're changing and they're changing. And so you're changing together in a sense. But you could also change apart from each other too. Like you can change in different directions, but the fact that you met each other, they witnessed you changing and that catalyzed a change in their life is what life is. That's really what life is. So as your kids are growing older, they should see you changing and growing. They should see how you didn't just stop who you were when you graduated from college, when they were your parent, when you first became a parent, you're not the same person you were when you gave birth to your child. And then, like, now they're 17, you're exactly the same person you are. It's like, we need to grow, we need to change. So God makes us uncomfortable in our situations to cause us to change, cause us to grow. People die around us. We ask the question, how do we want to live our life? Well, how did these people live their lives? Did they die happy for how they live their life? So there's a lot of questions to ask. Something that you really can ponder how we're living our life. And all of these things that cause pain in our life are meant to be catalysts so that we can change. So God never intended anyone to stay in one. Now, if you can stay in a long-term relationship for 25 years, but the two of you are growing together, maybe you have some kind of just the fact that the way that you raise your children is an inspiration to your community, whatever it is. But the fact is that you're growing. There's growth there. Your children can see growth in you. And so that's the point. So to stay stuck just because you believe it's what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to stay in this marriage and you're supposed to stay uncomfortable and just make the best of it and to just struggle through life isn't necessarily true. You are going to struggle in life, but the struggle should be towards good and growth. So that's what you need to focus on. So you're uncomfortable and you have your illnesses, and that's an awakening to the fact that, oh, I need to do something to change. I need to change my nutrition. I need to change my physical habits. I need to change my environment. Whatever it is to get on this healing journey is going to require you to change. So I wanted to talk to you about that. So evaluate, think about it, and assess everything and decide where are you going to change. You can't change everything at once, but you need to be doing something, taking a step in a different direction to cause you to change. And it's going to require you to do things that you don't want to do every day, but you're going to have to do them so that you can get to a place where you will actually be more comfortable. And first of all, the confidence and the satisfaction with moving forward and growing, it replaces any of the losses that you had in the past. No matter what your situation looks like, the fact that you move forward and progress through uncomfortable situations and were able to make changes is enough to fortify any action that you take. Thank you.